If you tuned into public television in the early 1970s, you were immediately hit with a wall of sensory overload. Heavy funk music, flashing neon letters, and psychedelic graphics that looked absolutely nothing like traditional school programming. To the millions of kids watching, this didn't feel like a lesson. It felt like subversive, streetwise sketch comedy. They sat in their living rooms absorbing the chaos, completely unaware they were actively being taught. As an adult, looking back, the reason those jokes landed is obvious. The writer's room was packed with elite Hollywood comedy talent, people who would later leave public broadcasting to create massive primetime hits like MASH and Everybody Loves Raymond. That frantic, commercial aesthetic was a highly engineered disguise, deliberately constructed to drop a serious educational payload straight into elementary schools. By 1971, the United States was facing an educational emergency. Millions of older elementary school students were falling behind in reading, and standard classroom environments were struggling to catch them. The federal government launched a Right to Read campaign, and they tapped the Children's Television Workshop, led by Joan Gans Cooney, to figure out a solution to this literacy vacuum. Cooney and her team faced a severe psychological hurdle. They needed to teach basic phonics to 7 to 9-year-olds, but if the target audience felt like they were being punished with remedial schoolwork after getting home, they would change the channel immediately. To bypass that stigma, the workshop completely threw out the traditional chalkboard aesthetic and hijacked the visual and musical language of commercial pop culture. Educators and television producers spent 18 months in collaboration, building a rigorous academic curriculum that could hide inside the fast-paced tropes of broadcast television. Faster, more urgent tone. They used early analog computer graphics to throw words on the screen connected to a ticking 5-second timer. They successfully turned the act of reading fast into a high-stakes espionage-style challenge. Musical sketches like the Soft Shoe Silhouettes were engineered with the exact same precision. They taught the concept of blending two sounds to make a word, masking the lesson behind catchy, radio-quality scores composed by industry professionals. Every visual effect, celebrity spoof, and musical cue had a specific job. The humor was a calculated delivery mechanism for a distinct literacy skill. That calculation extended to the characters. A young Morgan Freeman played Easy Reader, modeling a cool, laid-back persona. His entire purpose was an absolute obsession with reading anything he could get his hands on. And then they brought in Marvel. Due to severe budget limitations, the producers couldn't afford live-action special effects for the Spidey Superstory segment. Instead, they were forced to cut to static comic book panels right in the middle of a scene. A moment of wonder. Inside that limitation, they hid a brilliant educational trap. This version of Spider-Man never spoke a single word out loud. If kids wanted to know what the most exciting character on television was thinking, they had to actively read the speech balloons over his head. The Children's Television Workshop weaponized the coolest elements of 1970s pop culture to compel struggling students to practice their reading entirely voluntarily. This chart shows the results of an educational testing service study evaluating the program. The data demonstrates a clear quantitative advantage for the viewing group, proving the show successfully drove significant reading gains among struggling second graders across 19 different curriculum areas. While television didn't magically replace teachers or physical books, the numbers proved it was a highly effective, statistically verifiable instructional supplement for those specific students. Yet after 780 episodes, the show was canceled. It didn't fail instructionally, it failed commercially. The workshop had to generate sustained revenue to keep the lights on, and this specific format couldn't pay its own bills. Contrast that with Sesame Street. A silent superhero and hippie who loved reading were brilliant educational tools, but they couldn't sell the plush toys and lunchboxes required to sustain production costs. As modern platforms try to capture student focus today, the electric company leaves behind a precise blueprint. It proved that attention isn't the enemy of learning, provided you respect children's intelligence enough to turn their education into an event.